Wolves, but in the process now, though, Wolves are knocking on the door of Europe. If somehow they were to do it, has he already become the next wanted man?
No, you're going early again, Jim. I know you have a job to do, but you're going early again. Let's see where he is at the end of the season. But right now, you would say he's done a very good job.
Yeah,
and he did a very good job at Bournemouth. So you can get lucky once. So it would suggest he knows what he's doing.
Indeed.
Well, if I've gone, maybe I'm going early on Gary O'Neill, but on De Zerbi, who's gone early on him? Because, in fact, let's take you back, Graeme. This is what you said on the day that De Zerbi got appointed at Brighton.
It's like when you spend a lot of money on a football player. Ideally, you want someone who's played in your league, scored goals in your league, been consistently very good in your league, no surprises, injury-free. So they're making an appointment with a manager who has no history of the English game.
But they get Potter from Sweden.
But he's English. He was English, Jim. Doesn't know anything about the league, doesn't know the players. And the question I asked about what football people are going to be at the club to help him, and he will need help. I think that's very important. That's a big risk.
Well, it might have been a big risk, but in his first season he got them into Europe for the first time ever.
What's the question?
Well, despite 6 league wins in 22 games, De Zerbi's name has been indexed to Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United. Is he still fit for a top job?
Well, I think it's much to do with them finishing. I think it was 9 under Potter before, Graham Potter, 6 with him. And I think it's much the style of football he's playing that makes him attractive. It's deemed to be attractive football, and I enjoy watching them. But I come back to it did walk into Graham Potter left from a very healthy situation at Brighton. Whoever was getting a job was walking into a good job, and it's rare. Football management generally is about you get a job because the roof's leaking, got problems, and I think Brighton job at that time was a good job to take. I think he's done well, and they've hit the wall a bit. Bad result last week. Does that warrant him to get one of the elite jobs? I'm not so sure, but then he could walk into a club. I mean, listen, look at Liverpool, end of the season. You get that job. What a dream job that is. You know what you have to say? First team meeting, I'm here to change nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing. And it's as is.
Is it a dream job, Gray? To follow Klopp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, okay, big shoes to fill. But I would suggest, I've been part of a dressing room where the players ran the dressing room. When I was a player at Liverpool, we ran the dressing room. We dealt with issues within the dressing room before it became an issue for the manager or staff to deal with. I was manager at Glasgow Rangers. After 3 years at Rangers, I was there 5 years. My last 2 years at Rangers. Let me finish. I never had a job to do.
But wasn't Liverpool
I never had a job to do because of the players I had there.
But wasn't your experience at Liverpool about Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, running around, just continuity and stability? And hasn't the game changed to such a point where you've got multi-millionaires in the dressing room?
That's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about top players in the dressing room, self-regulating, self-managing. They deal with. I'm allowed to finish. When I was at Glasgow Rangers, 2-3 years in, I had the likes of Terry Butcher, Richard Gough, Mark Haitley, Ray Wilkins. There wasn't. And I'm missing some people. I never had a job to do.
But isn't that just about? But didn't you just describe a series of captains that could have been captains at any club? And we look at football now and look around football and say there is a dearth of characters, a dearth of leaders. Society doesn't produce them.
I think they're there, but people are not so ready to take on the responsibility anymore. You will have heard me say 100 times, you've got no chance of being successful at a football club unless you've got good senior pros.
Agreed.
They manage the dressing room. They point out to maybe ones who've arrived, like I did when I first went to Liverpool, maybe was going up a wee bit too much, doing things that weren't Liverpool. I was soon put in place and I learnt very quickly. And that's what it's all about. Good senior pros do the job for you as a manager.
But Liverpool inside out. Are you really suggesting that
it's a great job for someone?
The candidate who sits there in front of, and it won't be them, but obviously, Werner and John W. Henry. Okay, what are you going to do? Well,
change nothing.
I'm going to change nothing.
No, but it's not a black and white. You see, I'm going to do nothing. I'm not here to change anything you've been doing. You play fabulous football, you play winning football, you play football that our supporters love. In that respect, I'm not going to change anything. Of course, you might want to add a player here, a player there, but right now, if you walked into that club next summer, and given what happened in the League Cup final, and given it what those kids have shown, they won't all be stars for Liverpool on a regular basis. But given that group they've got now, you wouldn't have to change anything for 2 years.
You see
Get
that,
Salah
though,
to sign a new contract.
Say they don't win the Premier League this season. Surely they're bound to say to the candidate, well, can you do next season what Jurgen couldn't this
But
one?
they've come very close, or they might win it. I mean, it's well, let's see what happens in the next 10 games.
Depends how
but in
realistic
terms
you
of
are.
a football club, that is a great job for someone from the top to the bottom. Think of it. They've got owners that will put their hand in their pocket. Okay, it's not Man City money they're spending, but they'll spend money. They've got
young players
their
coming through.
stadium's now built. They've got a group of young players that obviously the academy is doing the business in terms of supplying people, coming through the system. As I've already said, not all of them players we've seen in the League Cup final and we're watching now will become stars for Liverpool.
Do you
Some
think
will
De
go
Zerbi's
elsewhere.
name should be in the frame?
I think because of the brand of football he plays, I think that would be attractive to people. But listen, you can't second guess. I'm thinking, is Alonso the favourite? I believe that Bayern Munich are talking to him. Liverpool talking to him. If it is Alonso, then if it's a football decision, there's no decision to make. You're walking into a club that needs very little tweaks, very small tweaks, where you're going to Bayern Munich. It looks like it's maybe major surgery there.
Can you see De Zerbi being interviewed by Liverpool, Simon?
No, I can't see him being interviewed by Liverpool.
Does he deserve it?
I can't see
Who
him.
answers
No,
that?
but I'm not framing it that way. I'm saying his name's not going to be in a frame. He's either going to be given the job or he's not going to be given the job. The bottom line is, if you're going after someone that's already got a job at Brighton, what are Brighton just going to do? Sit there? Well, we chop liver. Go ahead. Interview our manager then and see if you fancy him. And if you don't fancy him, send him back to us. They're either going to think he's the manager for the job or they're not.
But what gets you? It's a hard one. What gets you an elite job today? Finishing 6th in the league? Who answers that question? That was 6 last.
Well, it
Does that
depends.
get the job
You framed a question a moment ago.
It's his football he plays, which is attractive.
If you're the owners, what would you do? Would you sit down with a potential candidate and say, what do you see is an extra opportunity for you? Because if you're an owner, you say to a manager coming in, what do you need to win the league? Be careful what you want to hear back, because he might turn around and say, I need to spend £300 million on players. Right? Or do you turn around and say, I don't want you to break, which doesn't need fixing. Graham's point is nothing's going to change because it doesn't need to change. Nothing's broken. The only thing that's broken is that currently you've got a better team potentially in Manchester City, which is arguable, that will win the league.
Yeah.
If you lose it to Arsenal, then maybe you can have that conversation with due respect. But the bottom line is do I think De Zerbi should get a job at Liverpool? I don't know. Managing Brighton, managing Liverpool, two different things.
If he turns around 4-0 Roma, then yeah.
Yeah, but I think his brand of football would be attractive to the bigger clubs.
Okay.
In terms of his
caught the eye.
His CV,
Yeah.
maybe not, but in terms of the football he plays.
Yeah. So you kind of come full circle in De Zerbi.
Well, it's not a black and white thing. It's
No.
You could have 5 people sitting around the table and you get 3 say yes, 2 say no, and other day it'd be the other way around.
Okay. All right.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.